morning, everybody. I'm amazed how many people come to this event every year. Last year I said I was surprised how many people are in the room, and this year we've run out of chairs. So thank you. I really do appreciate you getting up early this morning and coming to spend the day with us. I think it's an event which is becoming a premier automotive electronics event for the industry. And it's something that we're very proud of, and it's something which is growing. So welcome to our 2017 annual conference. It's our 6th conference. It's our 3rd time here at the National Motorcycle Museum. I'd like to thank all our exhibitors outside. It makes an impressive exhibition as you walk in, and I particularly like a lot of the work that's been gone into that. So I'd like to thank our exhibitors for today. I'd also like to thank all of our guest speakers that we've got lined up. We've got an impressive lineup of speakers from all different walks of the automotive electronics environment. So I think you're going to see a tremendous amount of information, and there's some really clever people in the room here today. So please network and please maximise your time here by getting to know everybody who's in the room, because it's really, that's the purpose of what we do as a network. So it's a really exciting time to be in the automotive electronics environment. As I said last year, it's becoming more and more exciting, and what we're seeing is new entrants coming into the traditional automotive space which weren't there before. We're seeing a massive influx of consumer electronics coming into the vehicles. We're seeing governments jockeying for position to try and be the leader in the world for autonomous vehicles, and it's interesting just to see all the different tactics that are going on. We're seeing automotive companies who are now bidding to participate in cities of the future, so they're changing their business model. So the whole environment around automotive is changing around us, and we're at a step change in the whole industry. And most of it, the heart of everything that's going to be coming towards us in the next 20, 30 years is driven by electronics. So it's going to be our companies that are in this room who are going to be there providing and supplying the electronics for the future, which is going to make this fundamental change to the industry, which we're seeing right before our eyes. So what I'd like to do just over the next 5 minutes is just quickly take you through the last 12 months since we were last here, and just give you some highlights of the tremendous achievement that's been had by the team here. So if I do this right. So probably one of the biggest achievements that we had is that we did a tremendous amount of work with the Automotive Council over the last 12 months. And we participated in 2 major roadmaps which have recently been published. And Dave Skip's going to take you through the ICV one after we've finished here in my session. So what we did is we worked with the Automotive Council and developed a roadmap for technology development on intelligent and connected vehicles up to 2040. And when you start to look out over the next 5 years, it's reasonably clear on where we're going. But once you start to get into 2040, there's some things out there that we don't even know exist yet, and some things that need some invention. And I think you'll find the roadmap fairly interesting. But what you'll also see is there's some key themes, and I'll let Dave explain that as he goes through that. We also work with Neville from Ricardo, and Neville Jackson's been leading the electrical architecture roadmap. So what we're seeing is that vehicle architectures are changing. We're at a step change in vehicle architecture. The traditional vehicle architectures that are in the vehicles today won't necessarily support all of the electrification, all of the high voltage, and all of the consumer electronic type functions that are going to be required over the next few years. So there's a fundamental shift on vehicle design and vehicle electrical architecture change. So you'll see that through the electrical architecture roadmap, which is available through the Automotive Council's website. In support of those roadmaps, being electrical people and electronics people, we didn't want to do it without some software. So behind the work that we did on the roadmaps, we worked with the Transport Catapult, and we used an interactive tool called Sharp Cloud. And Ron Owen from the Transport Catapult has put a tremendous amount of work into supporting that. So this is an interactive tool that actually shows you what's behind the roadmap. So again, that's something that is publicly available, and you can get access to that through the Transport Catapult. The other thing that we've been doing as part of the interaction that we've had through the Auto Council and other members of that group is that we're really starting to interact now with the government. And I mentioned earlier that the governments are jockeying for position. The UK government is extremely supportive of this business sector. And we get tremendous support from our government colleagues. And we've been working with Ella Taylor, who's here today, on her work that she's been doing with the enabling environments. So that's a pretty fundamental piece of work that says there's no point us developing all this electronics and putting it all into the vehicle if there's no environment and there's no infrastructure in place to support it. So the work that the government are doing around that is tremendous, and we're absolutely delighted to be part of that. Outside you'll see the Visteon car, which is a prototype vehicle, which is a part of the £5 million government CAV project. So this was a co-funded project for the consortium, which is the UK site programme. So we're doing a lot of testing with our partners, and we reached a significant milestone this year in that the electronic hardware is now available. So you can see it is in prototype form, but John's out and Martin's available, so you can have a look at that vehicle and see what actually £5 million buys you, and get a bit of an insight as to the amount of work. There's a tremendous amount of work that's gone into that project, and Claire's also going to be doing a presentation on that this afternoon. Another thing that we did this year was we held our first AESIN plenary. I didn't know what a plenary was, but I now know what it is because I've been to one. But basically what we did is, like we're doing today, and we're giving you an overview of what's going on, there's a lot of small companies that don't get access to a lot of the work that we do. So what we did is we opened up a meeting, a small meeting, that just enables us to give a bit of an insight as to what's going on with the AESIN group, a bit more detail to some of the things that I'm explaining here. And it just allows some of the smaller companies to come in and get access to us and to some of the, what I call the big guys, in terms of giving them connections and showing them in a bit more detail what's going on. And that was hosted by KPMG in their Birmingham office. So that was a really successful event that we had this year. We have our more electric powertrain work stream, and that's by Will Drury from Ricardo, who's here in the audience, so you'll be able to talk to him later. And there's some key things that are going on in terms of the areas that they're focusing on with the development of components, integration and high-powered electronics. That's really a collaboration that we've got going on with our Power Electronic UK group as well. So that's a significant amount better work. Probably one of the most active work streams that we've had this year, and most of it was because of the work that they did to support the road mapping, was the group for ADAS and autonomous vehicles, which is led by Alan Walker from AVL. With Rob Green and the guys from the Transport Catapult, they did a tremendous amount of work holding almost monthly meetings to get the detail behind, which seem very simple little bars on the roadmap, but there's a tremendous amount of work that's gone in behind there and a tremendous amount of detail that's available, and it was those guys that actually did that. We also, as a network, have been able to hold a number of successful workshops. So we had an ISO 26262 practitioners workshop, which with all the safety critical systems that are being required for autonomous vehicles very much in the spotlight. That was a very welcome event and very well attended. We've held one on automotive security, and we've also held one with BSI on setting standards for autonomous vehicles. And later this year, we're going to have a dedicated just ADAS workshop just on ADAS as well. So that's another output from this group. And then finally, Peter Davies from Thales has been leading the automotive security work stream. Clearly, the press is very much picking up on some of the vulnerabilities of the new software and some of the new hardware that's going into these vehicles. And it's really important that we understand the vulnerabilities so that we can actually put robustness into our products as we move forward. So Peter is expertly qualified to do that. He actually represents the government on a number of occasions around cybersecurity threats. So we're absolutely delighted to have him leading our work stream there. So that's really made some really good inroads. The software one, as you see there, we had a restart of our software group. It wouldn't be software if we didn't change it halfway through and restart it. So we're on software workstream release 2. But really it was primarily driven because we had some significant changes in personnel within Altran who were leading this work stream for us. And I'm delighted that Mike Welsh has now picked that up, and we've restarted that group, and we've now set out the mission that group's looking at. And they're really looking at methods and approaches of delivering software to do that in the most efficient and effective way that they can, to ensure that we deliver these embedded systems in the most effective way that we can. And then lastly, but not leastly, we did start some work with Coventry University. We recognised that we can't do any of this if you haven't got the right people and the right skills. So Kevin Vincent from Coventry University has started to put together some education programs that are focused in this area. And one area that he's particularly looking at is potentially launching an apprenticeship scheme which focuses on artificial intelligence and ADAS and cybersecurity and software. So these are areas which traditional apprentices wouldn't look at. The typical apprentices would follow a mechanical route, but we recognise that there's a value chain here for an apprenticeship that brings in these new skills. So it's something that Kevin's leading for us. And as Paul mentioned earlier, the new copy of the new 2017 Capability Directive is out there. So finally, I just want to say thank you to Paul and all of the team at TechWorks, Rachel and Jenny. This show doesn't just happen by magic. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes into putting on something like this. And don't underestimate how much effort it is. It's a lot of work. So I know Paul and the team have done a lot of work there. And also a lot of the achievements that we've had over that last 12 months, most of that is down to the hard work that Paul puts in. Paul works tirelessly. He travels a lot. He spends a lot of time away from his family to make sure that this group is really successful. So please join me in thanking Paul and his team. Thank you. Okay, so that's the end of my bit. So I'm now going to open the conference up to the more exciting pieces.